Welcome to the latest edition of the Irish Rally podcast. This episode is brought to you in association with J&J Services, main agents for Hobbywell Welding Gas, the rent-free gas bottle. Welcome along to another edition of the Irish Rally podcast. Now, down in Tipperary they have a comedy duo that writes songs called the Two Johnnies, but for this episode of the Irish Rally podcast, it's two Kevins. And I don't know whether people have been getting a laugh out of the podcast the last few weeks or whether we value ourselves as a comedy duo. We're certainly doing our best, Anya, to give Irish Rallying a bit of exposure. Kevin, great to have you on the podcast. You're going very well with your own one, the Crunching Gears, and I've really enjoyed the stories over the past couple of months, especially during lockdown. Some great stories have been told.
Kevin, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me on tonight. Great experience this. Not normally used to talking about myself. Yeah, Crunching Gears has just been something that's been in my head for, I suppose, maybe a year, maybe more at this stage. I've been around rallying for all my life now at this stage, and I've always heard these great stories, this guy, about this and about that and about the other. But, there's nowhere out there that's actually, I suppose, taking down these stories or recording these stories. So that's kind of the idea behind it, and the response I've got so far has just been phenomenal, I have to say. The people, anybody I've contacted, no problem at all, and the response I've got online so far has been very positive, so delighted.
Yeah, because that's obviously a big worry. I mean, we hear stories regular about former footballers, hurlers, rugby players, soccer players, etc., and there's great value in those stories, and they're told in mainstream media for the most part. But unfortunately, with rallying, we don't. So, that's a crucial aspect of the sport, because if not, those stories get lost on us. And unfortunately, I suppose in recent years we have had a couple of bereavements in the rally community, and in some instances we wouldn't have got to hear half of those stories. But that's why I have to kind of pay a tribute to what you're doing. It's great to actually finally hear those, and I'm sure that's the sentiments that many people have been passing on to you in particular over the past couple of months.
Absolutely. Everybody, everyone, a man has said to me about, the great camaraderie that they have encountered in rallying. If it's needing a part for a car, it's the friendships that they've made that's lasted a lifetime. All them things, it's just fabulous to hear them stories, and it's something that it's not been probably heard of enough. We don't give the sport the credit it deserves. This is a fantastic sport we're involved in, and it's just a wonderful just chance to hear all these stories. And some of the things I've heard has just been mind blowing. So.
Well, it's had a bit of everything so far. Mm-hmm. So obviously you've had Rory Kennedy on for 2 parts, and you probably could have got 5 parts out of Rory. He had so many stories.
And still missed most of it.
Yeah, geez, it was magical stuff. And you've had Frank Kelly, you've had Conor Curley, obviously, and John Lyons, and most recently Vincent Bonner. And within those stories, you have joy, sadness, a laugh, major disappointments, trials and tribulations, and it really kind of captures the imagination, and I'm sure that's something you got great enjoyment out of hearing, as well as obviously being the interviewer and being the main man behind Crunching Gears.
Well, thank you very much, mate. Yeah, it's been, there's some of the stories that have you nearly in tears laughing, and then there's other ones that have you nearly in tears. The
full stop.
Yeah, just full stop. Yeah, because the openness of people. As the likes of John Lyons, that I have spoke to him maybe twice in my life before, and just me and him, just that night, it seemed to click, and the stories kept coming, and I was just sitting there with my mouth open, going, "Oh my goodness!" It was just fantastic. Vincent Bonner, another hero, John Lyons and Vincent Bonner was 2 heroes of mine. I've been going to Donegal Rally since my earliest memories is 79, 80, I think it was, and I believe it was there before that as well. So these guys were, the superstars, and to sit down and talk to them was just brilliant. And then to hear the story behind their story, it was just as good as it gets. To me, that was like meeting, maybe Lionel Messi or, George Best or whoever. That was they were my heroes.
Yeah, well, I tell you, with the likes of Conor Curley in particular, I'd say the George Best stories were mild almost in comparison in terms of humour. Anyway, certainly. There was a few crackers, in there.
Conor and Frank were just,
Conor and Frank, Jesus! Round about the 2 Johnnies. Now, there's 2 comedians. Yeah, there's 2 comedians for sure.
For them to give up their rally career, they've always got another option to fall back on.
Yeah, but just kind of. In general with those type of stories, and you've kind of referred to talking to your heroes and stuff. For me, that's kind of another novelty of this whole thing, in that okay, as coming from that sort of a background, you can't really appear like a fan, but in reality, we are all fans, even though we're kind of asking the questions. And it's almost like kind of getting to meet your heroes in a certain aspect, because definitely growing up, from my point of view anyway, I would have idolised Rory Kennedy for being Bertie's co-driver and stuff, and Stephen Murphy, I suppose, on a local front, close to me, and just to get a chance, I suppose, to have a chat with those guys. But the striking thing, Kev, for the most part, and I know, like everything, like every sport, you meet a few characters along the way that maybe you just don't take to. But for the most part, I have to say, these guys are so humble and down to earth. And I met Rory for the first time up in Donegal 3 years ago at the service park in Milford. And you just go up to him and talk to him, and he's just like a normal guy. And I just couldn't get over how humble the guys were. And you get a lot of that in a lot of sports, but you don't often get the access. So you don't know how nice or how bad a guy is. But with the rally guys, they all just seem down to earth, and they're just so happy to share their stories.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned Rory Kennedy. Rory has been, like, I kind of known Rory, I suppose, on and off, but I've probably got to know him over the last couple of years. I helped out with a quiz that was held there over in Lerry for a couple of years there, and Rory was a big part of that quiz, as well as Danny McMahon and a couple of other guys. And like myself, Rory and Danny and the other guys, it's clicked, it's just been a lovely, humbling experience. But to hear Rory's stories and things, it's just, but Rory's the kind of guy, at any time, day or night, you could pick up the phone and say, Rory, I'm having an idea in my head, I'll let you run it past you, right, go for it, and you tell him, and he'll tell you straight, yep, Kevin, that'll work, or no, Kevin, no, but if I was you, I would do this, or I would try that. And his advice and experience is just, and this was a guy that sat with Bertie Fisher, it doesn't get bigger or better than that in the Irish Rally, so that's...
Yeah, absolutely. And, who would have been a great help from my point of view, getting the Irish Rally podcast started as well, and just, straight shooter, with terrible sound guy altogether, the one with Bonner, the boiling the petrol, the petrol in the kettle. Oh my God!
Yeah. Yes, the amount of people
possibly is that the highlight so far?
It is, and also Conor Curley chatting about Chris Meek, and he couldn't like him anymore if he was covered in chocolate. So anybody that knows Conor Curley, his appetite for chocolate, that says a lot.
Well, then you had Frank Swan, with the incident in Trinidad with the t-shirts and stuff, and not a screed of a t-shirt left, but all the t-shirts paid for. That's a remarkable type of...
Yeah, there was Jared Wilson was over then in Donegal the following year from Trinidad. I wouldn't doubt Frank's story for a second. One of the loveliest people you could meet was Jared, and just fell in with. There was 4 of us in the car, and Jared jumped in with us. And as if he knew his whole life, we just had a brilliant weekend with him. And Frank is another one of them gentlemen that just, no matter where you meet him, always time for a word and always a bit of crack with him. I was chatting to him yesterday for a couple of minutes, and he was telling me he had a whole new row of lies now, so he can talk again anytime.
He's ready for the sequel.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so in terms of, I know you're kind of hopeful of getting a couple of other lads on board. I don't know if you're at liberty to kind of share that at the moment, or maybe you want to keep it to yourself for a while.
I'm hopeful now. I'm hopeful maybe Gary Nolan's maybe speaking to me. Possibly maybe Andrew Nesbitt. I'm kind of in the process of hopefully getting that sorted out. A few other wee bits and pieces is coming online there too, so you never know till it's all done and dusted, but hopefully there's things coming together, So.
And I suppose, like everything, just to give the listeners a bit of an insight into what goes on behind the scenes, because they obviously hear, like me and you talking here, but I would kind of say from my experience of it all that the recording is possibly the easiest part.
Absolutely,
all the jigs and reels of editing, Jesus, editing, mother of God, if you could if you could delegate, if it wasn't such a one-man band, it's just a lot of time of effort and fairness, and that's not kind of blowing our own trumpets, but it's just the realities of the situation.
Oh yeah, that's the easy bit, the sitting down. I can talk, and there's no problem. It's all the work beforehand and after, and just bringing it all together. Yeah, but very enjoyable, I have to say. Really love doing it. So, and
I suppose during lockdown and that, it might have been that little bit easier to get people because couldn't go anywhere. But I'm kind of noticing the last few weeks when you're going back to work yourself and everyone else is going back, it's just kind of hard to get that time sometimes. Just to sit down for that hour.
Absolutely. Yeah, that seems to be everybody's now that wee bit busier and. it's not just as easy getting the time now to sit down. But no, touch wood, it's all going so far so good, so.
That's it, and hopefully it stays that way. Right, so as well as being a podcaster now, you have been a photographer for quite a long time with KG Rally Pics, and you picked up a couple of nice shots yesterday, I must say. But we'll come to that in a moment. But the draw for photography in particular. So you mentioned you've been going to rallies for such a long time.
Forever.
Why the kind of angle of going down and taking photos then, as opposed to maybe, was there other interest and really, consideration to take part or anything like that? Or was photography just something you were always interested in general?
Well, I suppose I kind of knew from the get-go I had neither the talent nor the money to go rallying. So my brother was always a very keen amateur photographer back in the day, and he is, 12 years older than me, 12, 13 years older than me. And he'd have been a big hero of mine too, I suppose, when I was younger, and I followed him going to rallies, and so I suppose he kind of planted the seed in my head. So I'd always like a wee small pocket camera and snapping away. But in 2005, I bought sort of a bridge camera, which eventually, and then by 2007, had moved on to a digital SLR at that stage, and that kind of, I started thinking a wee bit more serious, and I fell in with a few very good guys, like Jim Crawford, Mark Breen, Warren McConaughey, guys that they're so given of their time and their expertise to sort of learn the tricks of the trade as such, and I'll be eternally grateful for that. Like the things I learned from them guys, you couldn't learn, you couldn't buy the experience, I suppose that would be the way of putting it, so, and it's just developed from there. The social scene around going to a rally is far nearly as important as seeing the action, I go there and I meet up with friends and have the crack, and I really enjoyed that side of it nearly as much as the rallying. Not entirely, but do you know what I mean? It's the fun side
absolutely.
of it too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something I would have found, from going to Donegal the last couple of years. We'd always stay out in Ramelton, and Conway's Bar there in particular is just a little gem of a spot. We used to really enjoy that spot, and I mean, that's obviously, as you rightly said, every bit is entertaining, the camaraderie, reflecting back on the day. And I suppose from us, we would have been marshalling up there, and what went right, and some lad might be after giving you a bit of lip, and you might be telling them to feck off or whatever, and in the nicest way possible, and obviously reflecting on the action that unfolded in front of your eyes as well. But that's, as you rightly said, every bit is entertaining and enjoyable, just to sit down and reflect and talk about what you're after seeing, and look forward to the next day, because you obviously have the 3 days of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Donegal is and always will be for me the number one rally in Ireland. From as I say, that's where my memories are all based around. Look, don't get me wrong, there's other great events around the country, and I enjoy going to them every bit as much. But come June, there's nothing else like it. That whole buzz around that few days is just phenomenal, and it's just mighty. It's just I don't know what it must be like competing, but I know for myself, the Thursday night before the Friday in Donegal, if I get 2 hours sleep, I'm thinking, look, I'm just buzzed up, ready for action.
Yeah, Christmas in June.
Yes, sir.
Are you PRO of the Motor Club, I think, or the International Rally?
International Rally, yep.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big gig, and it's obviously one that you really enjoy. I know before last year's event, you kind of caught up with a lot of guys, and you're asking them kind of questions off the top of your head. I'm nearly right. I'm right in saying that, yeah.
Yep,
just
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem like a lad that was really enjoying yourself, and obviously you're possibly cutting your teeth in the podcast work by doing that too.
Yeah, that's probably it was. The seeds were sown.
Yeah, that's it. But that's quite a big role, being PRO of what is now the biggest event in the country, in terms of rallying.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for Eamon McGee and all the guys and girls involved in the international. It's something I really enjoy doing. It's, to me, it's something I enjoy doing. It's not work. It's just, great buzz I get from it. It gives me a chance to meet the drivers, co-drivers, and then also all the team involved behind it. Then we, I've seen, other rallies, and Donegal has done it in the past before, as, put up a photo of 20 days to go, another photo of 15 days to go. And I just want to mix it up a wee bit. So this, I thought, let the wider public see the personality behind these guys, that's... have a wee bit of a laugh with them, ask them stupid questions, throw them off guard, And, the response I got from that too was very positive.
Yeah.
The rally last year on the Friday was one of my mates, Mark McCullough, standing at the other side of the road, and I was shouting across to him. And there was a guy standing beside him and says, "Is that the guy from the countdown page in Donegal?" And Mark says, "Yeah, this guy over from America," and he knew me laugh. It's like, "Oh
Oh yeah.
no."
Yeah, geez, would that build fierce excitement? Like those countdown pictures they worked. It was definitely a great piece of kind of marketing on your behalf, and obviously, the video pieces with the guys giving the answers to the questions. I found it hugely entertaining, and it was a very clever idea in spreading the word to the general public about who these guys really are.
Yeah, well, or I preferred the apple or Mars bar or whatever, it was the amount of times we heard that one this last year or two as well. So.
Yeah, homologated or
modified.
whatever it was, modified, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of ones that no, it definitely were. So obviously that's a kind of a labour of love, like, but there's a lot of work involved in the event in kind of making it happen. And I know Eamon's very much at the forefront of that, and lots of other guys, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not just a one man band. There's a lot of guys that make this work. But I have to say, from the outside in, and I've marshalled at quite a few events up and down the country, just like, it just seems like such a slick operation, and I've never seen anything like it in any other event. And that's, with all due respect to the others, you do get treated well, but Donegal has it all, as the fella said. But even in terms of actually looking after marshals, and from that point of view, just the whole running of the event is so slick.
Yeah, like Eamon and that whole team, they have it just, going so well. And like the crowd it attracts, it has to run well. It can't be lumpy or bumpy. It has to be smooth, because it's phenomenal. The amount of money that's bringing into the county every year is it's bonkers. But it's an international event, and it's again, it's probably not been recognised fully for what it's doing. Like, there's probably more people in Donegal over the weekend than there would be in Croke Park or whatever. So it's, again, we're trying to get the word out there. Yeah, they're getting the crowds, but we're not getting the mainstream coverage that the event probably deserves.
Why do you think that is, Kev? It's something that's been kind of annoying me as well.
I don't know. Is it, that these dirty, smelly cars? Is it what? I don't know. A few years ago, it was very popular, and it was getting the mainstream media attention. But
of course, yeah.
Is it this need for instant news or whatever? They need the result yesterday, nearly before the event even started. Or I don't know.
Yeah, I find it very hard to believe. Now, I did think for a while that maybe there was kind of like an association with, well, the lads that I would say they'll be up there just acting the clown.
That could be some of that there too. Yeah,
do you know, because I know going back through the years, there would have been hassle up and down at different events, but these are the same guys that don't even go to a stage to look at the event. They're actually just up there.
They're absolutely not in the rally. Yep.
So I don't know, has that been anything to do with the image of the way it's portrayed or whatever? But I don't know. It's really annoying when you consider what we have at our disposal in terms of world-class drivers, and I've said it several times on the podcast and stuff, but whatever has happened in the last 20 years in particular, you can notice it year on year or whatever. It's waned a little bit. The support and the following hasn't, I think, in general, because the loyal guys will always stay by it.
Yep.
But it just seems that I don't know. It's hugely frustrating, and I can't imagine how frustrating it is for competitors.
Oh, absolutely. You asked anybody, to name a rally driver, the man in the street as such, they're going to say your Bertie Fishers, maybe Billy Coleman's or whatever. They're not going to be saying Josh Moffat or Sam Moffat or Callum Devine. The personalities, they're not in your living room on a Thursday night, via RPM or whatever. I suppose that because a lot of the coverage is now gone online. And like online, you can watch what you want to watch. You're not getting a broader spectrum of things. It's very.
But my argument for that, having worked in radio previously, is that means it should be more accessible to someone that's working in a newsroom, because it's actually there in front of you. You don't even have to go work too hard for it. You don't have to go ring the PRO or whatever. And I will say, Highland Radio get it so right every time Donegal is on. And I was amazed going back a few years ago when Donegal and Tyrone played in the Ulster final, possibly 2017 or 2018. One of those years. And obviously, final day of the rally is on. And the balance on the coverage was absolutely fantastic. They were able to get both. They recognised the importance of both, and they absolutely nailed it. And I suppose with the events up and down the country, for the most part, local stations will cover it when it's in their area. But outside of that, from national point of view, it's just not there, and it's so accessible, Kev. It's so accessible. It's so easy to get there. And I would have actually mentioned it to people before, high up in certain places, to try and get it put out there and make it available readily to some of the local stations too. But not so far. It doesn't seem to be.
No,
Doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, they seem to be just focusing on the. Don't really seem to spread out the news. It's very funneled, very focused. It's all going out to people that's already converted. They're not trying to convert the masses as such, I suppose, maybe. And that's maybe in a small way what I was trying to do with the question and answer thing, was trying to show the personalities behind the helmets as such, and I think there's that's maybe missing too, because whenever I was growing up, your Bertie Fishers, Austin McHale's, these guys were like superstars. They were heroes, and again, as I say, you seen them on the TV on a Thursday night or whatever, I don't feel that the drivers now are getting that kind of cult status. Exposure, yeah, that's the proper word, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really and truly, and I know Donegal did it a couple of years ago when he had a kind of a media day, I think, up in Scottstown with Rally School Ireland, and you invited journalists to go there. I'm nearly sure that was Donegal, and that was really good. And I think RT did a piece on that for a minute and a half, and you could see how enjoyable it was for journalists and stuff. And yeah, you got the 1.5 minute piece, but again, I don't know. It's just like the simple fundamentals of your sports bulletin on the TV. You see most of the sports, you'll hear about the golf and you'll hear about the rugby and the soccer, but you won't even get the couple of minutes about the result in the international event. And I'm sure it's not for the want of trying, and we've got some good guys pushing it. I know like John Kenny's a big rally man, and always has been. Martin Walsh writes his reports for the national papers and things like that. But the other thing I would say, Kev, I don't think it's just exclusive to us, because I think it was Neil Weird, and I think I heard recently on the Sprint podcast with the boys down there that are doing fantastic stuff too.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Neil had Trevor was on with him actually. Trevor, I think, was on with Neil on that particular episode, and they were just saying about how Neil felt in that year when they were going so well that he didn't get enough credit from the British side of things. And I was thinking, Jesus, I'd say if Neil was over here, he'd be a lot more frustrated than what he was if he thinks over there is bad.
That's very true. Yeah, it's just it's a weird situation that guys that spend like crazy money are not getting the recognition they deserve. What do they get at the end of it? A pat on the back and told you're a great lad. So it is hugely disappointing. It really is. When you see the level of organisation that goes into this sport, and the level of commitment that these drivers and co-drivers and their teams and all put into this, these guys are the top guys they're athletes. The fitness regimes and everything else is there. It's comparable.
They're putting in the work as well as putting in the money. Obviously, we had Cillian Duffy on. I want to give him a shout out as well, and Cillian and Andy and Jesus. There's a lot of lads doing a lot of good work. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not having to pop it out anyway. But look, hopefully we see some sort of a change with it, because the guys really do deserve better. Rally Insight is someone else I want to give a shout out to. I was talking to Adam Hall recently, and he's been putting out some fantastic content. And I know you've been working on something with Adam.
Adam's he's only 24, 25, and what he has done for Irish Rally over the last couple of years has just been unbelievable. Me and him would always, throughout his last couple of years there, has been speaking back and forward, and he came up with this idea, I would say probably August, September last year. He would like to do a magazine, and we kind of thrashed out and come up with the idea maybe a yearbook would be better, he has some phenomenal ideas. Now, I was only a small collaborator in this, but the ideas the guy had was just brilliant. For somebody so young to have them ideas and be prepared to not just have ideas, but actually go out and put the bones to it. And the book that he pulled together from September to want to print then early December, and it was an absolute credit. I took such joy out of seeing my photographs and my stories in that book. For him to pull that together was just fantastic. And week in, week out, he's producing content. He's chasing drivers, co-drivers up, getting stories. And and just pure love of the sport again, just driving them on to do this. It's brilliant to see for somebody so young to do such great work, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, look, keep up the good work, and
Yeah,
well done to Adam there. And
yeah, and
you know,
well, the plan is, I think, to go with another yearbook this year. So
brilliant.
I've already been talking, and he's already given me a few things I need to chase up. So I must get out that.
Yeah, yeah. Jesus, you're going to be a busy man.
Yeah.
So right, let's kind of move on to the fresh and relevant in terms of this week. So you found yourself on the road yesterday, capturing some photographs. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, Oma Motor Club, fair play to them, and followed from the lead, I suppose, from Mayo Motor Club last weekend. They held a rally sprint up in a quarry there, up in County Derry. Cam, it's Aidan Cadwell's the guy behind the quarry, he owns the quarry, and the guys behind the motor club just put on a great track. And it was drivers only, no co-drivers allowed with the whole restrictions, very limited access for there were no spectators, and only very limited media access and things. But with the whole COVID restrictions and things, to put on such a great show, you have to take your hat off to the guys now, McGonigal and everybody there involved. Brilliant, blessed with the weather, beautiful day, bit misty in the morning, but once the mist cleared off, sun came out, and then the action started. And what a day's action it was. Like, these guys haven't driven their cars in anger now, I suppose now for 5-6 months. And I think they were just mad to get at it yesterday. Great fun, you know, big slides, plenty of dust. Makes my job easier than anything. I'm trying to capture the action, you know. So at the end of the day, then just Mitchell, a guy young, well, maybe not youngest, but a guy that's only sort of started rallying past maybe, well, probably not even a year now at this stage, took the one overall. I think it's only his second or third time on gravel. Brilliant performance. Fiesta R5, the car that Craig Breen won the championship in last year. And then David Condell, a battling second. He was going hard yesterday. He was doing his best to get that one, but Jason was just that wee shade quicker. And then another young guy coming up through the ranks, Bennett, I can't think of his first name now off the top of my head, was third. And this is another young guy that's just going places too. Like, brilliant performance. And then the two-wheel drive, Jordan Home, and a front-wheel drive Opel Adam ER2 car. To beat, you know, the likes of Shane McGurr, Frank Kelly, all, you know, the established names. Brilliant. Again, Jordan's in his early mid-20s at this stage. You know, brilliant performance by him. But to me, the star of the show was Caldwell in the M3, his first ever rally. Yes, his father owns a quarry. Maybe he knew where he was going, but his first time in a rally car to set the pace that he was on yesterday was brilliant. Just great to see. Love the car control.
Lovely style, yeah.
Lovely style, yeah. Nice control slides and getting the power down, and you know, and committed, very, very committed. You know, if he decides he's a drifter, but if he decides to take his attention away from the drifting and into the rallying, he has a bright future there. There's no doubt about it. You know, so.
Definitely looked the part. You know, I want to talk to you kind of about David Condell with the Mark II Fiesta, obviously, because that's an interesting one, and I know there's just kind of talk here that an R5 could be in the pipeline for David, which would be quite interesting. That's obviously 2 weeks in a row he's taken that from MPL, I think it is.
Yeah,
and that's right, Ryan Loughran's crowd, yeah, and like, that would be an interesting one. Like, it's hard to imagine David not in a Mark II Millington, obviously, but yeah, it surely would be tasty, wouldn't it, if it was to be a runner?
Yeah, I spoke to David for a couple of minutes there yesterday morning, and he was like, it was like Christmas. The big smile on his face. You know, it's just always a joy to speak to David. He just is one of them people that just has a great grow for the rally, and you know, and he was up for the fight, and he just loved this car. Just he said it was almost like a Mark II, that you could drive it, you had to grab it by the scruff of the neck and throw it down the stage, and he was doing that yesterday. There's no doubt about it, you know. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting move to see. It showed yesterday has the pace in it, you know. So it'll be, yeah, I definitely would like to see him move into an R5. It would be good to see.
Yeah, definitely. So then our overseas competitors, Latvia obviously was the venue. It was ERC, the next round of that, and look, not wonderful, I suppose, from an Irish point of view in terms of drivers. But Aaron Johnson, in fairness, as a navigator, has retained that particular one in Lafayette by partner Oliver Solberg. So back-to-back victories there. That's serious going.
Oh, that's a fantastic performance. The first round there a few weeks ago in Italy, like they finished third, and Oliver's probably, they said it was the first proper tarmac rally was superb. And then, yeah, he won this rally last year, the one that was on over this weekend. But for him and Aaron to be setting the pace and controlling the rally, like, they had a few wee small technical issues and things, but still, like, they were still over 20 seconds in front of the finish up. Brilliant performance, brilliant performance. If you ever see the in cars, the amount of information that Aaron gets out is just mind blowing. It's just how he can get it all out, and so I just cannot figure it out. It's phenomenal the way he can go at it. And
he's on the record, I think, with Adam Hall for saying that like the notes just come so thick and fast with Oliver Solberg. He's constantly on it.
The level of detail there, and for Solberg to take all that in as well and process it. But what Solberg's 18, 19, this guy is going to the top, and if Aaron can go there with him, that would be brilliant for the sport in this country too.
Yeah, obviously comes from serious pedigree. Peter being his father, and that's obviously going to help from a financial point of view as well. That obviously his contacts and he has a bit of money to bring with it. But the fact that Aaron is there with him is phenomenal, and it's great for this country.
Absolutely, things like that will maybe help raise the profile here too. So all the things like that too.
It can only help. Possible, there's obviously kind of thought that maybe we'll see Oliver Solberg in WRC in not too distant future, and who knows, it could be a team or two maybe making a comeback. There's talk. There's
rumours, yeah. So well, fingers crossed that all comes together. It would be fantastic to see. Like, this guy has the way of winning is that it's easy for him. So I have no doubt he'll make the step up to full blown WRC car. Whether it's what the car we're mentioning, we'll say it was blue the last time it was here, I suppose.
That's right, yeah, and his father might have drove for them once upon a time. Jeez, if you're not getting it by now, lads. All but mentioning
we can't give you another 555 clues, can we?
No. No, we don't want solicitors after us either.
No.
So look, that's the story with Solberg and Johnson. Craig would have been probably a bit disappointed with how things ended up for him with the MRF Tyres team. I think 5th, and it wasn't 3rd in the championship, but I'm sure he would have wanted a bit more, and he would be disappointed with that.
Yeah, like this developing the tyres, I suppose. So 5th maybe at the end of it all, and I think they had a pointer today, and maybe dropped a couple of places there too. Like, there's no doubt about it. Craig's a world championship driver, and to be doing what he's doing in this car is brilliant. Like, the tyres he's probably driving beyond what the tyres are capable of. So to be 9th, 3rd in the championship, brilliant, and hopefully now the next he's due now to get a run in the Hyundai World Team now in the next Estonia is coming up now in a couple of weeks.
That's right, yeah. He has the drive there. So
hopefully it's a rub of the green. He's been very unlucky now the last couple of times he's been out and things. So fingers crossed for him. He deserves it.
Another man who just can't get a run of luck at all is Callum Devine and Brian Hoy. Just disappointing again, and obviously, they didn't finish the event, and I know the car kind of come off or whatever. But the guys are okay, we believe. So
yeah, that's the main thing. But
that's obviously the main thing.
Callum and Brian are we've seen here in Ireland last year what they're capable of. There's no doubt these guys have the talent to compete there with the very best. But as you say, they're just not getting the luck at the moment. So.
Yeah, and Cam McCourt was over there too.
Yeah, Catherine had a new co-driver, new car, everything for this event, and was performing exceptionally well. He was running inside the top 15, I think, and setting top 11, 12 times. Just something broke in the car. I'm not 100% sure, but bad luck. But brilliant showing by him. I suppose Irish Forestry champion, so it shows that we have the strength and depth here that our guys can come out there and compete with the best, and that's fantastic to see. So.
It is indeed. So in terms of the rest of the year, I know last week obviously we were chatting to Rory, and unfortunately, Wexford is not happening, and it wasn't for the one to try. And expect to be talking to Gary Bradley fairly shortly on the podcast as well. We were in contact there last week. But do you expect to see anything this year? I suppose it's like kind of getting you to look into a crystal ball and expect to get the answer. It's very.
Yeah.
Would you be in favour of stuff going ahead?
It's a tricky one. I just don't know. As these rally, quarry rally sprints and thing, is it part of what we want to see? Probably not. But is it better than nothing? Definitely. So are we going to see rallies on the roads? It's going to be difficult. Especially with the numbers rising again and one thing and another. There's probably more chance of areas being put into lockdown and one thing and another. But this virus is not going away. We can't say come January 2021 that everyone's going to be wonderful and magic again, that we could be able to go rallying. So Killarney Historics, I would say, will do their best to get an event to run. Wexford also are talking about maybe trying to run something later in the year as well, So
Yeah.
You had to take your hat off to them. They were pushing away 2-day rally and had their stages picked, and I think they had them PR'd and all too. But it was just not getting the increasing numbers in with the government guidelines. It just scuppered them to finish up. So maybe later in the year, But
yeah, because like everything, I suppose, it's a kind of a 200 in an outdoor area. But when you get a map and you see a bend, more often than not, you're thinking the very same as 90% of people, and they'll kind of converge on that particular part of the stage. So that's where it gets kind of tricky.
And then as well as that, you have your service area. It's like 200 people in a service area. You take the crew, two in the car. I think then that would be, I think it was
That's the 200.
Yeah, and then I think they said like 200 outdoor would only allow something like a 40-car entry or something, and it's not feasible for any club to try and organise an event for that low numbers, So
yeah. Look, it's such a tough one, and while we're all longing for it, safety is obviously paramount. But there did seem to be, for the most part, a little bit of some guys think possibly it should be happening, some guys don't. You can probably see the merit in both arguments, but you gotta just be safe at all times, and that's where it comes down to. Safety's paramount.
Yeah, that would be my worry, is that like if there's a rally goes ahead somewhere and there's an outbreak, and maybe it's not rally related, but getting the blame for it, like the sport's in enough trouble at the moment without getting its name dragged into something like that, So that would be my big concern there, I suppose, So.
Yeah, and that is a big worry, no doubt. Look, we'll have to see, as the fella said.
Like here, if there's a rally on somewhere tomorrow, I'll be the first one there. I think probably, I don't know, maybe.
yeah, that's the thing, because you just miss it. Jesus, you miss the action so much. But look, aside from that, over the next couple of weeks, have we kind of something to look forward to in terms of? Are there more runs in the pipeline, or what's going on? Is that it for a while?
Well, yesterday I was chatting to a few guys. Oma possibly might try and run another sprint, like quarry sprint again. There's also a couple of other clubs in Northern Ireland looking down the line at maybe trying to pull something together as well. But at the moment, I think the paperwork's phenomenal, and we can't forget, the guys organising these events are volunteers, and to give up your time, the guys doing this, the quarry sprint yesterday, they were in the quarry all day last Sunday, they were there Thursday evening, and then all day Friday, all day yesterday, and they were probably back there today clearing down the stage, So, like for volunteers, it's harder and harder to get, the people that's willing to put their shoulder to the wheel and do that there, It's not everybody's doing that. We can all push the buttons on the keyboard when it comes to these things and give out about not, something that's been poorly organised or something wasn't right. But, to go out and do that, that's where you need to be stand up and be counted there,
Yeah, definitely. So, look, here's hoping we are in a position where we can see something. If not, look, we'll get over it. There's far bigger things at play here. So maybe next year, all going well, we might see Donegal. But look, as you said, you're going to be busy anyway between Rally Insight and the Crunching Gears. Keep them coming thick and fast, because obviously they've been very, very enjoyable. So look, thanks for coming on the Irish Rally podcast, I should say, and we will chat again soon, no doubt.
No bother, Kevin. Really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with me. It's been interesting now. Thank you very much.